My name is David Meza. I'm the Chief Knowledge Architect at NASA Johnson Space Center. So how we use Neo4j at NASA? There's a lot of different little projects that we're working on. Primarily when I started Neo4j about 4 years ago, I was looking at a concept where we could explore our lessons learned database a lot faster and help our engineers and scientists find information in those databases rather than going through your standard key list search and being able to look at the relationships between the different lessons across the decades. Because as NASA, we've got 50 years of data. And many times we have to go back and look at information that we may have done in the Apollo era, in the shuttle era, now we're going into the Orion era. So we have to be able to look at these lessons across all of those different types of programs and projects. Graph databases just really simplified that process for us, being able to connect lessons across those spectrums, and even recently allowed somebody in our Orion project to be able to go back and look at our Apollo information and prevented an issue they were having, and it actually saved them well over 2 years on that project and about $1 million of taxpayer funds utilizing this type of technology. Well, for me, it was a no-brainer. I've used relational type models for many, many years, starting back in mind mapping. Many times in meetings, I would mind map out what's going on in discussions. So Neo4j really stood out as something that made sense to me, both from a logical standpoint and a visual standpoint. It made it really easy for our end users to be able to visualize that data, see the connections, and really see what's impacting each other, and be able to move and find those information a lot faster. So some great things that have happened with Neo4j, of course, like I said, I mentioned earlier the Orion project where we saved a ton of money within that project. Some of the other things, the smaller things, especially when we're looking at connecting the dots between different types of repositories of information. I know that in earlier we've talked about in some of these keynotes that have been going on that we have a lot of siloed information. And trying to connect the dots between those siloed repositories is something we've been working on. And the graph database has allowed us to do that quite significantly. A current project we're working on is taking the astronauts' comments as they're coming off of the space station and being able to show how they've connected across the various expeditions that they've done over the last 10, 15 years. And not only through that, but then tie it back to the actions that it may have derived from those comments, as well as any of the projects that may have been impacted by those actions. Many times all that information gets stored in separate silos. Now we're able to connect the dot and see the trends across the years as to what subsystems and subsystems may have been impacted by the experiments we're running up there. If I could look at Neo4j today and go back to my first project, I think that the biggest thing I would look at is really having a good understanding of how I'm going to model the data. It really took me a little bit I would say it was a long learning curve, but a little bit of a learning curve coming from a relational database mentality as an old SQL developer, having to get away from the schema into being able to model that system a little bit easier and develop those relationships and connections. I had to basically throw away the schema mentality and start fresh. Now that it's today, now knowing that a little bit better, it would have been a lot easier for me starting off back then. I think Neo4j, if I had to say something else about Neo4j right now, I think what I really truly like about it is the scalability, its capabilities of looking at millions and millions of nodes, because we have information that's growing. We have a big data problem, not only in structured data, but in unstructured data, which is my focus right now at NASA, is the unstructured data. And I need a product or an application that can go across and develop millions, if not billions, of nodes, and to be able to connect that information together for me able to find it a lot quicker.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much for your time today, and it was good to talk to you.
Bryce, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.